Hello everyone and welcome back to my F1 22 Custom Formula 2 season for round number 12 at Interlagos, Brazil. Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. However you want to name the circuit, that is where we are today. So, heading into this round, we have somewhat of a margin in both the drivers and constructors, 8 points, but that is an issue in qualifying already. We've come together with Théo Pourchaire in the wet conditions here, and that is a terrible start to qualifying. Théo Pourchaire trying to make the move around the outside as we were going quite slowly through there, just not with the confidence for us. Pourchaire into the wall, and I think he is out of the session entirely. We'll go on board with Pourchaire. He was just trying to go around the outside to get some clear track, and yeah, we kind of squeezed him into the wall, though to be fair he may have already been on that trajectory to begin with. Trying to go around the outside there in these conditions is quite sketchy, but we have to return to the pit lane. We have floor damage from that collision, and yeah, we're back into the box before we have even set a lap time. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Pourchaire will obviously be starting from the back with a total DNF from the session, but thankfully for us, the conditions actually dried up for the end of the session, and after the car was fixed up, we were able to go out again, and we can set 2 consecutive laps here.
See some rain, ETA about 15 minutes.
Rain later on, that's well after the session ends, so we don't need to worry about that. So I left these laps till right to the end of the session to give us the best chance possible, and you can see our current best lap has put us up into 16th position. And on this second flyer we are improving again, so we'll see what we can do as we work our way now through the middle sector. I think we can definitely find a fair amount of improvement on our first lap, and through every corner we are gaining more time as the track's more rubbered in this time around. Continues to dry heat up, and me myself just getting into a better rhythm the more this session goes on, and time is just absolutely pouring in, and we are very much green as we now head out of the final real corner in the circuit, and we'll now head towards the finish line to see where this lap puts us. We've made some mega improvement on this lap. We're down to 16th at the moment, but we won't stay there for long. Across the line, where are we going to be?
Lap. We're very pleased with
Pole position. My goodness, where do we pull that one from?
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top 3. Viscal, Lundgaard, Enzo Fittipaldi. It's time to leave for now, but we'll be back tomorrow when the feature race gets itself underway.
Well, there we have it. Pole position alongside Christian Lundgaard. And it looks like Sato and Schwartzman didn't have the best time of things. 19th for Sato and 14th for Schwartzman. Piastri down in 5th. So we have a good chance of scoring some decent points over Piastri and the Prema team as a whole this weekend. So you can see the points standings as things are. 8 points ahead at the moment in both the drivers and constructors, with Sato and Schwartzman tied on points. It's really between myself and Piastri at the moment, and it seems to continue that way this weekend so far. We're looking at our lap. There was definitely more time in it. We made a mess of the first sector. It says we lost about 1/10 of a second, but I think it is potentially even more time than that. So we got good pace this weekend. Let's hope we can make the most of it. On pole position will be Larim Zendelli in the sprint race alongside Yuri Vips. We'll be starting down in 10th with the reverse grid, of course, so we'll just need to tread carefully at the start of that one.
It's finally here, the day we've all been waiting in anticipation for, race day. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache circuit has been home to many exciting events in motorsport history, and I have no doubt today will be just as memorable. 15 corners make up the 2.7 miles of the Brazilian circuit. Turn 1 provides an excellent opportunity for overtaking, but also provides the most challenge, requiring pinpoint accuracy, which will no doubt be even harder to pull off in the wet conditions we're experiencing out on the track today. Drivers can expect a similar challenge driving uphill during Sector 3, which has seen some of the sport's most spectacular incidents. I'm joined by a man who's had many a wet race, Davide Valsecchi. Just how challenging will these conditions be out there on track?
Delighted to be here, Alex. Even in this weather, nothing will be easy for them. We may have standing water, which means visibility will be a worry. They just need to stay clear of the white lines and curbs. They can cause you a real problem when it's so slippery.
Well, the wet weather continues here in Brazil. We'll be on the grooved variation of tyres for the start of this one, but the rain won't last for long. Around 10 minutes into the race, it should be clearing up 10 to 15 minutes. So, yeah, things will be hopefully a little bit of a better time for us than in the previous wet races, but we'll see as we go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go then for the sprint race here in Brazil. We're deep in the pack, a lot of spray. We're hard left as we head down towards the first corner to try and just gain some level of visibility. Very cautious on the way in. We don't want to damage the car, we just need to survive this opening stanza of the race. Contact already though, we're sideways off the road, off the inside. We'll catch the car, but we're down into almost last position. By the time we get back onto the road, we are last. And it's very similar to how we got bumped off the road back in Mexico.
That front wing is going to need replacing if it takes too much damage. No need to
And
worry
we've got
about the
front
tyre
wing
condition
damage
for now.
on top of
Everything's
that,
looking good.
so that is an absolute disaster at the start of this one. It was always going to be difficult to score points anyway, but that is certainly not going to help our cause. It's only slight damage, so I think we're just going to battle on with things and wait until we switch to the dry tyres anyway, and hopefully that will give me the best possible chance of still coming away with a result.
Okay, be careful with the front wing. You've taken some minor damage. No tyre concerns
So-
at the moment. Just focus on the driving. We anticipate an end to this rain in around 5 minutes.
Oh wow, 5 minutes until the rain ends, so even earlier than expected. Maybe a little longer until the track's dry enough to use slicks, but still very much there's an opportunity here for us in this race. We just need to basically stay with the pack and hope that maybe if there's a safety car later on, we can use that to our advantage. Oh, what's this? Enzo Fittipaldi going for a spin. The field going through. Enzo Fittipaldi with a big mistake there. The field stacking up behind. So Enzo now pointing in the wrong direction, trying to get moving again. Teo Porcher running into the back of Samaya there, just slight contact. And the safety car is out. The safety car we needed is now out on circuit. And
Turn the position immediately or we're going to get penalised. There's no overtaking during the safety car period.
okay, don't pass Deleta there. We almost got in trouble for that. Bit of a slide as we head through.
Okay, Marino's in the pits.
But,
Marino in the pits.
This is absolutely perfect timing for us because it's now time to switch onto the slick compound tyres. It certainly doesn't look like it, but everyone else is doing so. So it is definitely the correct tyre to be on if everyone is switching. So that's what we're going to do, of course. And we'll go on to the mediums. That'll easily take us to the end of the race. Looks like everyone else is also going on to the mediums. We have to double stack behind Marino Sato, and then as we head into the box, we're going to have to wait for even longer for the crew to come out with our tyres. We have to wait even longer because the front wing needs to be changed, so it's a long old stop here, but it shouldn't cost us too much really, because we were already at the back and we're under safety car, so we'll get all this time back anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a concern. And yeah, we'll get moving. Once again, very cautious on the pit exit because there's still water dripping down the camera lens, so it's still maybe even raining slightly, but in terms of the track conditions, it's time for dries, so bit of a confusing situation here, but the dry tyres are going to work.
At the back. That's last place.
So I guess that is the situation we're in. Meanwhile, David Beckman coming to a complete stop at the final corner, and I had to do the same. Some weird thing going on with the timing delta at the moment. We almost exceeded it by a massive amount, the safety car, delta there. And then as we continue on, we don't actually get a chance to catch up to the safety car, neither does David Beckman, because the field is way ahead, heading into the pit lane, and the safety car's heading into the pit lane rather, and the field's taken off, and we're still at the final real corner. And yeah, they're off starting their next races. Meanwhile, Roy Nassani retires from the race with a mechanical failure, so it's unfortunate for the Israeli driver. But yeah, that was very weird. So we don't really gain a ton from that safety car because we're still a ways behind the field. David Beckman is the only car nearby, and he has front wing damage, so we'll make the move on him eventually. We're having a lot of trouble at the moment trying to find a way to do so. We're really looking high and low and not finding any way past the German in the Campos. We'll see if we can get up the inside, and we will do so into the final real corner, the start of the third sector, and we'll make the move stick there. Next up is Ralf Boschung, but he's a ways up the road, but we will eventually catch up to him as we get a nice little flick through the left-hander, and now we'll try and make the move up the inside, but no, we can't get there, and Ralf Boschung holds on. So that little move, it can work very well, but if the car in front chooses to defend, it makes things very, very awkward into that corner. But we'll continue to push on now along the straight. We should be able to make the move. We'll go to the right as we head down towards turn 1. We'll see if we can make the move around the outside of Ralf Boschung, and we will do so and make the move up into what is now 19th position. So yeah, we're not making a lot of progress, it's got to be said. We're a fair way into this race now, heading into the closing stages.
We have P19 now.
And I think it's fair to say the chance of points is near zero at this point. We've got Alessio Deletta up next as we get a bit sideways on the exit, and Deletta with a mechanical failure right in front of us, smoke pouring out of the HWA Race Lab car there. And Alessio Deletta is out of the race. What a shame for him. He retires from 18th position. We'll move up into said 18th position, but that's going to do little to rectify our problems in this race. Meanwhile, up the road, Felipe Drugovich wins the sprint race here in Brazil. His home race, fantastic result for him. He'll be over the moon with that one. And we'll cross the line in 18th position. And, well, it's a fairly disappointing result here, but when we started the race in the rain and had issues at turn 1, it's not a huge surprise, but we'll come back stronger in the feature race. We'll be starting on pole for that one.
So Virtuosi have won it, and what a great race it was. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, I'm not sure what we just saw, but one thing's for sure. Today's winner has certainly showed they have no fear battling it out on the track. And who can blame them? I don't think I've ever seen someone through the competition so quickly. Today's race was a sight to behold, and judging from the crowd's reaction, it went down well with the fans as well.
Another race and another victory for Virtuosi as we see the drivers make their way out to the podium for the final ceremony. Superb racing out there today, and a well-deserved win.
So it is Felipe Drugovich who wins the sprint race here in Brazil. His home event, fantastic result for Felipe Drugovich. Yuri Vips finishes in second position with Larim Zandelli, a very healthy third place.
And so, driver of the day then, Davide Valsecchi, who do you think you'd go for?
Let's give it to Felipe Drugovich. That was a quality drive from start to finish. He can be proud of that one.
After all this drama, you'd be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
Alrighty then. Well, that was a tough one. It didn't really go our way at any point other than the safety car, but even then the safety car took off before we had a chance to catch up. So anyway, we'll have a run through the top 10 because there were a few interesting progressions throughout that race that we missed throughout, so let's get into it. Obviously we just saw the podium, Drugovich, Vips and Zandelli, followed by Jack Aitken, very nice work in 4th place, followed by Dan Ticktum, Guilherme Samaya doing well at his home race, but then Marino Sato going from 19th all the way up to 7th and scoring 2 points with it, so fantastic stuff for Marino Sato. And then also Robert Schwartzman gaining a bunch of places and finishing in 8th position, so they both score points. And the top 10 rounded out by Jane Deruvala and Marcus Armstrong, with Oscar Piastri in 11th missing out, not just on points but on the top 10 entirely. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, going to Felipe Drugovich, the race winner, so he scores 17 points for his efforts in this one. But yeah, both myself and Piastri, who started in the top 10, missing out on points, and then our teammates who started down the order up in the points. It's all gone topsy-turvy in this one. But anyway, as for what that's done to the championship, absolutely nothing for us in the Drivers' Championship. We still lead by 8 points over Piastri. Sato does overtake Robert Schwartzman and will move himself 1 point clear. They were tied on points before, but very close because Dan Ticktum was also in that fight, tied with Robert Schwartzman, 1 point behind Sato. So yeah, there's all very close between the three of them. I've mentioned Jane Deruvala in the past. He's 55 points off the championship lead now, just 4 points ahead of the Charouz driver Enzo Fittipaldi. So there are a lot of close battles in the Drivers' Championship. Meanwhile, in the Teams' Championship, we lead the way by 1 more point than we did before, 9 points ahead of Prema and 56 points ahead of Carlin. So not under any huge threat from them. Prema are our main rivals still in that one. On to the next race.
It's finally here, the day we've all been waiting in anticipation for, race day. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache circuit has been home to many exciting events in motorsport history, and I have no doubt today will be just as memorable. This high-altitude anti-clockwise circuit is made up of just 15 corners and offers plenty of DRS opportunities, but not as much opportunity to overtake as you would expect. The circuit is known for its very technical Sector 2, which is sandwiched between the circuit's 2 long straights, the latter of which is considered to be one of the longest full-throttle stretches you'll find. We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Bent Viscal yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Christian Lundgaard in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fittipaldi, Ticktum, Oscar Piastri, and Deruvala, Armstrong, Aitken, Phipps, Larim Zendelli, Verschoor, Joe, Felipe Drugovich, and Schwartzman, Beckman, Boschon, Samaya, and Roy Nissany. Sato, Lawson, DeLedder, and Teo Porcher completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
I won't let you down. I think we can do better in this one. We've got clear conditions throughout the race. It's going to be cloudy but no rain. Soft tyres to the mediums will be the strategy. So let's just get into it and make the most of this one as we park it up on the grid on pole position.
Superb parking there, mate. Let's make sure we get the edge on the surrounding drivers as the lights go out.
Let's make sure.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid is formed. Be ready with the clutch.
We make the most of this race as we go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. A long hold at the start of this one, but we nail the start and get away well towards the first corner, and we'll lead the way into turn 1. There's center S for the first time, missing the apex there a little bit, but getting the second one much more nicely. And through turn 3 we'll put the power down and accelerate away from the field. We've got the slight gap that we need to maintain the position down towards turn 4 along the Reta Aposta straight for the first time. We're away and clear. Hopefully we can just push on in this race, not worry about the cars behind too much. That's the ideal situation. But as we continue on to lap 3, that is not exactly how things play out. The DRS is now enabled, and now we've got cars trying to go around the outside, and we'll cover that one off nicely, and we'll fend off the attacks. Dan Ticktum and Christian Lundgaard rather are the ones giving me trouble at the moment, as we were very much distracted there, and we actually grazed the wall as we were not driving in a straight line while we were looking backwards. So that is a very silly mistake, but that's damaged the front wing.
Mind that front wing.
And yeah, we now have a serious problem in this race because we've self-induced a major pace disadvantage to ourselves, and now we've got Christian Lundgaard trying to go around the outside. Bit of wheel banging there as we're trying to defend the position, and we will successfully do so, but Christian Lundgaard is really not going to give up in a hurry.
Mind that front wing, it's going to need replacing if it takes too much damage.
And
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now.
we escape
Keep
any
taking
further
care of it.
damage from that little bump with Lundgaard, so that's fortunate, but yeah, that was really silly, that little bump with the wall. That's something we didn't need to do.
Okay, we can take you this lap.
So what we're going to do as we push on much later into the race is make our pit stop very early, and we will, actually someone's following us in, so a few people not thinking it's too early, but anyway, we will change the front wing, and hopefully the undercut will in some ways counteract the time loss of the front wing change. I don't think we'll get all the time back, but I think this is the best option for us. We'll put the new
Perfect
tyres
job
on.
the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track.
So yeah, once everyone else makes their stops, we should have a fairly sizable undercut to, you know, give some of this time back that we've just lost in the pit lane. So we'll see how it goes. We're on fresh tyres, new front wing, we're setting fastest laps, and now as we come around the center S, we should be able to regain a decent amount of track position, and we kind of do. So not everyone has made their stops yet, so it's hard to tell exactly where we're going to be, as we're tucked in behind Larim Zandelli at the moment. He exit pit lane. He was towards the back of the top 10, remember, on the starting grid, so that kind of shows you where we're at. We're probably, you know, somewhere in that area around the back of the top 10, so we're not doing too bad. We're still probably on target for points in this race, all going well, so that is all good signs for us as we're continuing to push on, trying to make a move on Larim Zandelli while he is on cold tyres. We've definitely got a bit of a pace advantage in the corners, but we lose the rear end there at a critical point,
Burrito's coming in for his stop now.
and that costs us the opportunity to go for the move. I was hoping he was going to defend there. We might be able to go to the outside. Didn't work out for us. He didn't defend, so we just got stuck behind him for yet another corner. Sato and many others into the pits on this lap now, though, so we'll see how many positions we gain here with the DRS open now towards the first corner. We're a little far back to be doing anything against Larim Zandelli, but we'll go for the big lunge down the inside. Lock up for Zandelli, but we will make the move successfully. And that was from a long way back, but we made it work and moved ourselves ahead of the German.
Taken P9 now.
And we're up into 9th position with Yuri Vips up next. And as we now head towards the double right-hander, we'll make the move down the inside of Vips as well. And we're being very aggressive here, but we're up into 8th position. We got a few more points to our name as we work our way now through the middle sector. Got a bit of an air gap to the next car, not too much, so it won't take us too long to catch up to them. But that was a very important move to be making. Meanwhile, up the road, this is the fight for the lead, and it involves Oscar Piastri. He's through into first place, getting ahead of Christian Lundgaard, so well done, Oscar Piastri. He's charged through the field from 5th on the grid, and now he's made his way up into 1st. So that is a very important moment for Oscar Piastri, and he now holds 25 points at the moment if things were to finish as they are now. We'll go for the move down the inside of Fittipaldi. We were very close to him all throughout that sequence of corners, and we had to force our way through. We can't afford to lose too much time, so we're making moves in places we normally wouldn't. So yeah, we're taking risks here. Meanwhile, we've caught up to yet another car, Jehan Daruvala. We'll make the move down the inside. A little bit of a bump there, potentially with Marcus Armstrong, very slight, but we make the move down the inside of Daruvala, and that's another position for us. So we're charging through the field as well. We're really trying to we need to minimize the points lost to Piastri when he's in the lead, and we're down even now in 5th position as we make another overtake. That is, you know, that's I think 15 points difference between those positions, so he'll take the lead by the lead of the championship easily by about 7 points. We go for another move down the inside and put ourselves ahead of Jack Aitken as I think he had a bit of a moment there. We'll go on board with Aitken as we made the move down the inside. Oh, we got on the grass on the way in and went very wide, lost a lot of time there, so Jack Aitken made a bit of a mess of that one. Meanwhile, up the road, Dan Ticktum is going for the move on Christian Lundgaard, and he makes the move up into second position. So Dan Ticktum making his way through the field as well. Christian Lundgaard losing a couple of spots, and it won't be long before we make the move. Big lunge, aggressive over the inside curve there.
Nice overtake.
And we make the move. We had to make that work. That was critical because there's already a large air gap to Ticktum, so we couldn't afford to lose a single moment behind Lundgaard, and we absolutely forced that one.
Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 16.5 seconds.
Unfortunately, Sato is not having such a good race, but we're up onto the podium now, so we've minimised the points lost to Piastri.
Okay, gap ahead is 1.5 seconds.
To just 10 points, but that 1.5 seconds is now less than 1 second as we are closing into Dan Ticktum, but he's also closing into Piastri, and Ticktum has a DRS, which is going to make overtaking him very, very difficult unless he makes the move on Piastri first, or we can distract him enough for him to drop out of DRS range. We need to do one of those two things as we set yet another fastest lap of the race, so that'll minimise the points loss again to Piastri by, or to just 8 points. So if things finished right now, we would be tied for the championship lead. That is how close things are this season. But of course we want to try and take a little more, so we'll see what we can do. We're close to Ticktum, but it's going to be very difficult to make the move. The DRS zones are out of the question. We can't make a move there, so our best opportunity is into the third sector. So let's see what we can do as we try and get a nice run on Dan Ticktum. We'll flick from the outside to the inside here, and we do have a nice run up the inside of Dan Ticktum. Late on the brakes, over the curb, we'll make the move and put ourselves up another position into second, with Oscar Piastri now getting away. We tried to carry as much momentum as we could through there on the compromised line, but Ticktum still got a good exit, and he's going to have DRS assistance, so will we. We've both got it on the way down to the first corner, but Ticktum has the slipstream advantage. He goes to the outside, but we will just about hold him off and maintain a second position. Now, is there anything we can do about Oscar Piastri? Can we chase him down in the closing laps of this one? We don't have too much time left, so we'll see what we can do as we continue to push on. We've literally got 1 lap left actually, so that is really not a lot of opportunities. And there goes one. No move into the first corner. We were too far back, and we're probably too far back to go for a move into turn 4 as well. So there's only that last corner in the third sector that will be our only opportunity to make the move on Oscar Piastri. So throughout this lap we're going to need to try and stay as close as possible, but Piastri's been fast. Remember, he's made his way through the field from 5th on the grid, so it's not going to be easy to make the move. He's probably one of the fastest cars on track today, so we'll see what we can do. But Piastri has been looking strong. We're right on the back of him though, but we're in the wrong place. We don't have an opportunity to get past there, not without some traffic in front at least, as we did with Jane Deruvala at that part of the circuit. But Piastri just keeping things nice and tidy on the racing line. No mistakes for him. A mistake for us though, a little bit wide as Ticktum's trying to stick the nose up the inside there. So that's a distraction we don't need. We don't want to be focusing on Ticktum. We want to be fully focused on Piastri. We go on board and we just missed the apex, and that is critical. If we got that apex, maybe we would have had a chance to get a drag race run to the line, but it's not going to work out for us. Oscar Piastri is going to do it. He'll hold on and take feature race victory here in Brazil. Well done, Oscar Piastri. Brilliant drive from 5th on the grid to take first, and we'll come across the line in 2nd position. But here is what happened to us across the line. We actually run out of fuel just moments before.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
And thankfully we didn't lose a position, but that was a scare, certainly, and we ran that one very fine, but we got away with it and still finished in 2nd place.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Prema today. So, Davide, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they won today.
As we look back on a thrilling race here today, we can now see the drivers take their places on the podium. It's a familiar sight by now, as it's another successful F2 win for Prema.
So it is Oscar Piastri who wins the feature race here in Brazil. Second place will go our way with Dan Ticktum in third, less than 3/4 of a second behind Piastri.
Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
Probably Oscar Piastri. You know, strong pace, good work with the strategy, just a very complete drive, I think.
After all this drama, you'd be mad not to join us for the next race. We hope to see you then. Take care.
Oh well, that was certainly more successful than the previous race. Coming away with second position, 20 points to our name thanks to the fastest lap. So yeah, things not too bad in this one. We won't lose too much in the championship, but things tightening up nonetheless. Quickly we'll run through the top 10 results of the race as usual. Oscar Piastri taking race victory ahead of myself. Dan Ticktum, fourth place, going the way of Marcus Armstrong. Great race by him. Christian Lundgaard leading for a while, but dropping to fifth by the end of the race. Followed by Jack Aitken, decent weekend for him. Jay Deruvala and Enzo Fittipaldi, Brazilian in the points at his home race, followed by Yuri Vips and Richard Verschoor rounding out the top 10. Marin Zandelli just missing out on this occasion. In terms of the drivers' standings then, we now lead by just 3 points over Oscar Piastri, and then it is 69 points back to Jay Deruvala, so he's slipping out of contention. Enzo Fittipaldi 75 behind, and then Sato unable to score, as well as Robert Schwartzman also unable to score, and they drop to 7th and 8th in the championship respectively, so they both lose a couple of spots in the standings there, with Jack Aitken and Dan Ticktum scoring points and moving ahead. So hopefully they'll be able to pick up their game later in the season. Actually, Jack Aitken and Sato are tied on points for 6th and 7th in the standings, but yeah, we'll hopefully be a four-way, all four drivers fighting for those team points, because Schwartzman and Sato haven't been scoring the big points that myself and Piastri have throughout this season. But anyway, onto the team's championship then. We are now just 4 points ahead of Prema, so the 3 points I have over Piastri and the 1 point Sato has over Schwartzman just shows how close it's been throughout this season. Carlin third, 55 points adrift, so we still don't need to worry about them too much, I don't think, with just 2 rounds to go. I don't think they'll be hauling in that margin. But anyway, that is going to be it for this one, so I'll say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, it is always very helpful. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.